Hi, I'm David Taub, and welcome to the Parshah Rabbit Hole, where I find something weird in the weekly Torah portion and follow it all the way down until it gets even weirder. This week's episode eventually gets us to the location of Gehenna and talking holes in the ground.
It's an old-fashioned hole digging. By gar, it's been a while.
But, as always, we have to get there. In this week's Torah portion, Parshas Korach, we learn about the rebellion of a guy named Korach and his followers against the leadership of Moshe and Aaron, or Moses and Aaron. After a lengthy process of proving that they were wrong, Moshe then uses a miraculous punishment as proof of his inner circle status with God. He says that if Hashem will create a creation, and the ground will open its mouth and swallow all of them, then you will know that they have angered Hashem. And that's exactly what happened. It says, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their houses and all the people belonging to Korach and all of their possessions. So there were a lot of different directions I could have gone with this, and I actually started with a few. One of the things that caught my attention early on was that the verse says that they went through the hole to Sheol, which in Midrashic sources and in Gemara is explained as the lowest part of Gehenna, which for those who aren't familiar is the part of the afterlife where people are punished.
Generally speaking, in the afterlife there's a good place and there's a bad place.
So I was thinking of maybe mapping out Gehenna, how big it is, where are all the parts, all that stuff. But I've decided to save that for another project. And what ended up becoming the rabbit hole for this week was a question that I thought about pretty late in the process, after I had already collected a lot of stuff in other directions. Which is that there's a Mishnah in Parshah that lists 10 things that were created on the 6th day of creation at twilight. So the very last minutes of creation, and the things that were created in this in-between time are all weird things that are kind of things and kind of not quite things. And most of them are kind of miraculous things that show up much later on in Torah. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but one of those things is the mouth of the earth, which all of the commentaries agree is talking about the hole that swallowed Korach.
But this isn't about show business. This is about some kid down a hole or something.
So what's the deal? Was this hole created in the time of Moshe or during creation? Now, even though this seemed like kind of an obvious question, I figured that it would probably lead me to weird stuff, and it did. So that's where this week's rabbit hole starts, with the entrance to Gehenna that swallowed Korach and his followers, and when it was created. If you're ready to see where that goes, let's dive in. Okay, so a lot of the commentaries deal with this question. We'll start with Rashi, who kind of addresses it, and by the way, if you want to tell me that Rashi and Parshah isn't really Rashi, go ahead and do that in the comments. Anyways, Rashi says that the opening in the earth had been there since the creation of the world, but that it had been covered up until Korach's rebellion.
I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in.
So like I said, this maybe kind of answers the question. It was created way back at the beginning, but it was revealed later on. But that doesn't really fit with what it says in the Parshah, where Moshe Rabbeinu says that a new creation will be created. But Rambam offers a different perspective. According to him, the rabbis of the Talmud believed that once the world was created, nothing new was created after that. So all of the miracles that happened in the Torah had to have been baked into creation from the very beginning, and that's what this list is. So on the 6th day of creation at twilight, God placed into the nature of the earth that it would open up to swallow Korach. So according to this, the ability for the earth to open was created during the 6 days of creation. But the hole itself actually opened up in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu and Korach. I'm not going to get into it now, but this opened up a whole can of worms for me that I didn't even know existed.
Huh? Get your own.
About whether God continuously creates the world, or whether creation was a one-time thing. Hopefully I'll get a chance to explore that more in the future. Anyways, the Tosfos Yom Tov rejects all of these explanations, and he has a very complicated answer of his own with a lot more questions that all get answered by one idea. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, I'm just going to give you the punchline. He focuses on the phrase Pi ha'aretz, mouth of the earth, and points out that there are other mouths on this list, including the mouth of the donkey that talked to Bilam a little bit later on in the Torah, a couple parshas later.
There must be 1,000,000 donkeys in the world, and I bet you're the only one who can play the tuba.
And he points out that it says that the mouth of the donkey was created, and not the whole donkey. But that's weird, because mouths are mouths, unless the Mishnah isn't actually talking about the physical mouth, but about the ability of that mouth to speak. And therefore, he says, that's what's going on with the mouth of the earth as well. Back during creation, God gave the earth the power to open up its mouth and talk. And then in the times of Moshe, it did just that. And according to him, when the mouth of the earth spoke, it gave some information about exactly where in Gehenna Korach and his followers went.
Woo! That was fun.
So there's a lot more cool pieces to this idea, and I don't have time to get into them, but I couldn't not tell you about the talking Gehenna hole. Alright, that's it. That's the rabbit hole. I had a lot more that I wanted to share, but the clock was ticking and I had to get this video out for you, so this is what I've got. But if you check out the source sheet in the description, you'll see a lot more stuff in there. Thank you for following me down the rabbit hole. Hopefully it won't swallow us up forever.